you mentioned you met Eric Bischoff through martial arts. What was your first impressions of Eric Bischoff when you met him?
We were young guys. We were both. I think Eric is maybe 6 months, 7 months younger than I am, so we're basically same age. He blew his knee out. He was a wrestler, actually, a collegiate wrestler, and he still had a lot of competition blood in him. So he got into martial arts. He worked at one of the karate schools, and one of the things he would love to do is to go to karate tournaments. And we were all poor, so we had no money. So and I happened to have a van, and we would travel on a weekend to a karate tournament. And Eric Bischoff, certainly back in the days, he was one of the toughest guys, I think. And I mentioned this before on a couple other interviews, but what I remember about Eric Bischoff fighting in the karate tournaments, that he got DQ'd a lot.
So did you live in Minneapolis at that time as well?
No, as you know, I live in Iowa, which is about 2 hours from Minneapolis, and so on the weekends I would go up to train with those guys, 2 hour up and spend a weekend training with those guys, and certainly when I was training with boxing, up there when I was getting ready for a kickboxing fight, we would go up there and train.
And you mentioned in another interview that Eric Bischoff had a very young girlfriend at the time.
Well, actually, it's current wife. I mean,
Okay.
Lori is petite, even now, very beautiful. And I mean, he got lucky on that one. And what happened was, we traveled, we become brothers in martial arts, and one day he's going to introduce me to his new girlfriend, and I can picture this even now. We were at Highway 100, the old Radisson, which it's where they have the Diamond National Karate Tournament now. I don't know what the hotel is called now, but I remember, we're going to meet him there for drink. It was me and my wife, Julie, and we got to meet Lori, and I he introduces Lori to us, and I had to pull Eric to the side, and I said, look, I said, Eric, man, I said, what are you doing? I said, she looked like she's 14 years old. What do you, she's a petite, very, beautiful young lady, but she looked like she was 16 at best. That was my guess. But turned out that certainly she was the legal age. Didn't mean to accuse Eric of breaking any laws, but and I said, Eric, you're gonna go to jail, man. I said, you and then he assured me that she was that age. So, but lucky for him, they're still together, and they have 2 beautiful kids, Montana and Garrett, and we have obviously through martial arts and wrestling, they've been here. They've been in Mason City, Iowa, and the only reason they would come here to visit me. So, you probably figured it out already.
Yeah, that's for sure. Now, how did your business relationship with Eric begin?
I think one of the most interesting things was, Eric was doing a lot of things. I think after he was managing at martial arts school, I believe it was called the USA Karate, and he was a manager, salesperson at the karate school in Bloomington, Minnesota, and he was doing, we're all poor. We're actually not really thinking about how we're going to get ahead. We were more interested in how we're going to get to the tournament next weekend. Maybe he was better than I was, but at least that's where my heads were. And Eric was actually, struggling just like I was, but he was actually, and he's a great salesman, by the way. And he was actually selling door-to-door meat. I think that's hard to do. I think that's harder, well, almost as hard to do as selling a vacuum cleaner door to door. So, And one day, as we were traveling, I said, Eric, I got this game that I kind of come up with. And he says, and he was willing to try. I said, you got to see our kids play this game. And it was we called it Ninja Star Wars, and it was actually a Velcro ninja stars that we threw at each other, and we made a kind of storyline. There was headbands and eye goggles and a vest that these Velcro would stick to. And we came up with 2 different scenarios of the games, capturing a flag and, that kind of thing. And we had a little storyline that we read. And Eric says, knowing he said, we got to get this on TV. We got to sell this thing. So with help of Eric and we kind of combined our resource together. Had a guy, I think gentleman name was Mr. Shen, out of Chicago. It was a Korean guy who had a martial art supply store. Had him manufacture the game, and Eric went to, we got to get this on TV. And I have no way. I don't know anything about television. And he says, well, let me see if we can go talk to these guys, Vern Gagne and AWA. So, so some of you guys can blame me for how Eric got in the wrestling business. So Eric takes this game and goes to AWA, speak with Vern and those guys, and says, hey, you have a commercial time that they get from being on national syndicated television show, and we'll split the money with you from this sale of games. So Eric shot the commercial with my Karate Kids that I had. We used them on a commercial. And I think Eric directed the commercial, kids playing kind of like this setting, hiding behind a couch, throwing desk, telling us stories, and shot the commercial, and got to be on national television on syndicated TV through AWA shows, and we didn't make any money, but we learned a lot, and one of the best things ever happened out of that deal was Eric Bischoff got a job as AWA, as I think he got a job as selling syndicated show, AWA shows, and that's how he got in. And then through that, and Eric can tell you the better story because I really don't know. I only know what I heard from him, is that one day announcer they show up on the AWA shows, television taping, and they put a sports coat on him, and he was, he's a good-looking guy, certainly, 20-some years old. I think he was even doing some modeling at the time, and they put a microphone on him and started interviewing the wrestlers, and that's how he got in front of the camera and became an announcer.
Did you have any interest at all in wrestling when you were younger? Were you a fan at all?
Amateur wrestling, certainly professional wrestling, because we're in AWA territory here,
right.
Certainly. So, they used to come to town. There's a Catholic school here called Newman High School. They would come once or twice a year, and and they would do their shows. The Crushers and Mr. Zumoff, and even Vern Gagne. Those are the crowd that used to come down here from AWA days.
Did you ever meet Mr. Zumoff there? He's had a lot of legal issues recently.
Yeah. He's been down here a few times. I mean, certainly on a show, and I got to meet him a few times, I think.
But you never knew him personally?
No.
Okay.